well, if that's possible.
Okay, absolutely, no problem. So I was saying I run the research center Fundación Ceibal, which is advocate to identify cost-effective evidence in large-scale interventions of technology in education. We work in a number of countries, but most of the research is focused in Uruguay. As you probably heard yesterday, Uruguay is a country which 10 years ago decided to provide computers and connectivity to every single kid in the country from 7 to 15 years old. That was the first kind of digital divide, the one focused on the access. But there are a number of others. It's like layers of the onion. So being able to make an effective use of technology, being able to produce new knowledge, being able to solve complex problems with technology are the other very relevant digital divides that need to be addressed. So probably yesterday you heard some of the reports from international organizations suggesting that there's not clear correlation between the access to technology and the improvement in the performance. And although that might be very interesting, I would like to report that some of the research that we have done in the country identify that when kids learn a second language using technology through video conferencing, with a training from the British Council and a specific set of protocols, we identify strong correlations between the use of the online platforms and the better performance of the learners. Now, similar trends we identify in the use of math, but this is not only because of the access to technology, but because of the design of a protocol, a specific training, supervising, support, so there's a whole ecosystem behind that makes the experience with the technology much more different. But let's face it, technology is not only being used for formal learning. Technology is broadly being used to build identity, to develop the 21st century skills, to negotiate knowledge in a number of different venues. So when you trace what are the kids doing online, they do a number of things. Now the tricky challenge here is learning has become a complex element that happens everywhere. And it's difficult to identify which of these tools are exclusively for learning, for leisure, or for socializing. Now, when you trace the same information based on the device that the learners use, either the laptop provided by the state or the devices that they can bring from home, also known as bring your own device, although the practices might be similar, there are different patterns, which is very interesting if you want to stress some of the practices online, the device will play a critical role. Now, I would like to raise 3 lessons from all this research that we have done and 3 invitations. The very first lesson is learning happens everywhere, not only in the classroom, through exploration, through building curiosity, exploring with others. Therefore, it's that important to foster self-directed learning. And in a world of endless opportunities, information, but also risk, foster self-regulated learning and agency plays such an important role. The second aspect is the more ubiquitous the technology becomes, the more abundant it has to turn into something more invisible. We should be talking less about technology and more about the practices that it generates. And with the huge amount of data we have of the uses of technology, we know much better today what works and what doesn't work. And this is really critical if you want to shape what are the pre-service trainings for teachers, which shouldn't be only focused on digital skills, but much more on the pedagogical strategies to teach with technology. I have 3 invitations for you. The very first one is once per year in Uruguay, we organize a winter school in which we gather experts from all over the place, policymakers and researchers who get together and share relevant and cost-effective models on educational technology. The second one is we provide research funding for those who want to run research in Uruguay or elsewhere in the world in a comparative fashion. And the third is, after all these years, we have built a network of experts, academics, and agencies who will be delighted to connect you with. If any of these things is relevant for you, don't hesitate to let me know. Just before finishing, I would like to say that with all these instruments, we might not be able to predict the future. This is not our role. But we can provide elements which can help us to design a future in which more people can have an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.